Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Awaken Inner Wisdom. I'm happy to have you here. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. No matter where you are, if you have a question, I highly encourage you to put it in the comments because I will put your questions first before all of the pre-submitted questions that we have today. So please go to the comments and ask your question, anything having to do with relationships, to love, and to life, and I will help you transform them. All of these lessons, all of these things that happen to us in life with people, places, and things. It can be at work, it can be in our families, it can be in romance, it can be in friendship. And I will bring through some intuitive insights. And if you're wondering, why are you wearing that crown? If you're new to the show, it's all about channeling from our own inner wisdom, opening our crown chakra, actually opening all of our chakras, and really bringing that intuitive place within us so that we can answer our own questions ultimately. But in the meantime, I'm here to help you answer yours. So please put them in the comments below. And if you haven't already gone to bethbell.me and filled out the State of the Heart assessment, I highly recommend that you do, because you're going to find out a little bit more about yourself. You might be surprised. There's 4 stages of the heart, and you'll find out if you have a blocked, broken, healing, or whole heart. And then you'll also receive some tips and some tools to help you through with that. So I'm very much looking forward to today's questions. We've got some good juicy ones as always. And so we're going to get right over to them. So question number 1. I find it easy and comfortable connecting with people one-on-one. It just feels effortless and natural. But with 3 or more people, I frequently feel lost and isolated, and chemistry seems impossible. Any suggestions? Yeah, I think there's some things to tune into with yourself on that. If you're really feeling like there's like a level of anxiety that comes when you get in a group of, more than just one-on-one people, I would just ground yourself in that moment, right? Just take a deep breath and ground yourself and just become very present to your heart. So like just focus your attention right here and your breath, and just take a deep breath. Like you can do it without anyone noticing, right? And then just realize that, oh gosh, okay, I'm having a little anxiety. You're having anxiety because you're listening to your mind, and you're listening to your mind think, oh, okay, I've got to have something to say. I've got to jump in here. I have to be in this discussion. And sometimes you don't need to be in the discussion from a speaking, thinking way. You need to be in the discussion from a feeling, sensing way. So observe the other 2 people. Maybe they're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And maybe you end up leaving the situation and you haven't said anything, and that's totally fine. But if you do want to participate, the more you can be from the heart and the sensing, you'll start to feel into the people and the topic. And then from your heart, you'll probably have something to say, and you'll know exactly when to interject. And because you're not trying so hard and your energy's not coming in that like anxiety way, I bet you'll find that those 2 other people or that group of people look to you almost as though like, hey, we want to know what it is that you think right now. So if you're not grasping for the participation aspect, and you're just in that beautiful, blessed place of just receiving information from others, feeling excited and curious about what other people are thinking, and not following your own mind narrative of what you think you have to say or do to be part of the group. Because that's just our natural instinct to want to be part of a group. And some of us just don't have quick responses because we need to feel into it. So allow yourself to do that, and don't kick yourself if at the end you feel like you didn't get a chance to speak your opinion, because it doesn't mean that you might not be able to sometime soon. Right? Those people come back around. People do come back around. And if people don't come back around and ask for your opinion, and they don't have an effort to include you, I don't think they're your people. So I think that's the other really big note here, is just pay attention, because the people that you want in your circle are the people that are wanting to hear from you. And you should never have to feel like you're pushing that. So if you end up being the quiet one, that's okay. But just start to kind of observe like, maybe those aren't my people. Maybe I don't really need to be accepted by them. Maybe I don't really need to interject in this conversation. Maybe they don't really want to hear anybody else's opinion but themselves. So think about that one and see where it hits you in the heart. All right, let's go on to the next question. Okay. I moved in with my partner over a year ago. My son lives in my home, which has allowed me to take my time to completely move out and organize myself. However, I'm wondering why I haven't been able to complete this process yet since it's been over 1 year. Yeah, I think it's great that, first of all, you're asking the question, right? Because I think sometimes we do get really comfortable when things are comfortable. We get comfortable letting it drag on because it's comfortable. My son is in the house. And I think you're onto something by asking the question because you're recognizing maybe the pain of it. And I don't mean pain like serious pain. I just mean like the pain of the drag. Whenever we drag something out, we don't feel that sense of accomplishment. And I think that's why you're asking the question and you're wanting to know the deeper reason. Like, why don't I want to get this accomplished? Why is this not getting accomplished? Why doesn't it feel like it's a little bit more ease and grace? Like, why isn't it just happening? And I think that you are dragging your feet on this, but let's not be hard on ourselves when these situations happen. I would say feel into how you're feeling each time you're back at the house and you're trying to complete this task that seems like a forever task. And two things. Before you go into the house, you're sitting in your car and you're about ready to walk in, get a little journal that you consistently have that you always write in and write down, how do I want to feel at the end of my time at the house today? And just feel into what is it? It might not be like accomplished. It might be that you want to feel just happy. It might feel, there might be feelings that you just don't even expect that come up. Don't judge them and don't try to think about what's the best feeling to have. Just write down whatever comes to mind. Okay, this is the feeling. And then when you go in and you're doing your whatever you're doing to complete your moving out completely of this home, tune in to how am I actually feeling? So whatever it is, if it's papers, is it frustration? If it's like actual furniture items, is it, like what is it? And what is the attachment to it? What is that emotional attachment to it that I'm experiencing? Is it a longing for a previous time in my life? Is it a longing for something sentimental to someone else? Is it something that I just don't want to give up yet? Am I fearing something about my future if I actually give up this home? If I don't have my things here in this place? And feel into those things, feel into the emotions, and don't overthink it. Feel it. And then when you're done, just be sure you allow yourself a few minutes because, we want to get on to the next thing and get going, but just start your car or don't start your car, depending upon if it's hot or not. And just write again, like, was I able to, not from judgment, just from observation, was I able to feel my desired emotions while I was there? And if not, why? And what was my actual emotion while I was there? And then ask Spirit, your higher self, what can I do to release experiencing this emotion or to feel this emotion enough so that I can release it? But there's actually something deeper there that is calling your attention. And you're like, yeah, I want to get it. I want to get what that is. And I might have to feel it. And I might have to go through it before I can release it. Or it might be something small, something that I can just quickly just be like, yeah, okay, thank you for letting me acknowledge that. And it's gone. I have a feeling that there's a lot here. Otherwise, you would have done this much quicker than a year. And again, it's not from judgment. It's just from it feels like there's a lot of memories and there's a lot of family. And there might also be some other spirits that are involved in this as well. So just feel into that. And if that's true for you, who are those other people that are there with you? And is there some kind of an honoring sacred ritual that you want or need to do that helps honor them so that you don't feel that you're abandoning them or their memories or or any of that. So feel into that, see what comes. And if you have any additional questions on this, please don't hesitate to write me in the comments. All right, let's go on to the next question. Okay. If our purpose is love, it doesn't really matter what we do with our time, as in our job, as long as we stay connected to source. Is that true? I think I'm going to take that and put it into a little bit different reframe, because I think that our purpose, I wouldn't say our purpose is love. I would say that we are love, and love is eternal, and that we are wanting to embody love at the purest form, so that we don't have, so giving and receiving can be the same. So we have unconditional love as opposed to conditional love. But I would say that our purpose is varied and different. It is to bring through that love, ultimately, like at the highest level of consciousness. But we each have come here with a soul's plan, and we each have a purpose and a mission to utilize our specific skill sets, our specific characteristics, our personality, all of our beautiful gifts, and also our areas of opportunity. And so our purpose is to, yes, be in that love, but it is a purpose. There is a purpose. So it's different. And then the other way that you had said this other one, it doesn't really matter what we do with our time, as in our job. I would say that it does matter, because you want that alignment with your soul's plan. So love is like the foundation, and then your soul's plan is like all of the 2x4s that you're using to build, all of the pillars in your life, all of the different things that come in that you've learned, all the skill sets that all contribute to what your purpose and your mission is here. So I would say that they are different, and I just would kind of, look at them just a little bit differently as to how you frame that. And yes, absolutely, staying connected to source, right? So that is our main pillar. That is like our foundational connection, and the way that we can stay strong in who we are, what our purpose is, and not get lost and bumped around so much on our soul's plan, because it can get rough down here in 3D land. We can get really bumped around, and stuff happens, and people enter in, and we have to always come back to remembering that we have asked those people to come in and play those parts. We have asked those situations to happen to us so that we can learn more about ourselves, so that we can ultimately live our passions and our purpose. So yeah, I love the question. I just would kind of just rejigger it a little bit and really feel into, what are all those building blocks that I have, no matter what age you are, whether you're 20 or you're 50 or you're 80, like what are those? And have I put that whole house together in this lifetime? More from a fun observational space, because we're not dead yet. And we can always do more to add a new window to our home, or, update our roof, or take down a wall that wasn't necessary anymore, using the analogy of a house and building a house as our mission and our soul's plan. So exciting. That's the beauty about life, is that we're constantly creating, and we can recreate and we can change. Nothing has to be the same from the past, but we can also use the past to build our future, and knowing what are our limiting beliefs and what are our catapulting beliefs, and really focusing on them as the foundational elements that we want to carry forward in our new house, in that analogy. Okay, let's go on to the next question. I've been in a relationship for 2 to 3 months and happy exploring this new boyfriend. Out of the blue, my previous ex texted me saying, "Do you have any interest in getting together to discuss everything?" We've been broken up for over 10 months. I feel like I should say yes, but haven't replied. What to do? A couple of things here. First of all, if you're in a new relationship, I would absolutely have a conversation with that person about making this phone call. But before you do that, really, really important before you do that, that you sit with yourself and really feel into what's my intention? What's my intention to have this conversation? Because you're saying, yeah, I feel like I should say yes. So there's something in you that's curious, that has a desire to possibly have this conversation, but figure out, what are your intentions? Are your intentions to say something to them? Is it to just hear what they have to say? Is it that you are absolutely clear that you don't want to get back together? Is it that you have a little curiosity that maybe you would? Really figure out, like, what is that foundation of the possible yes? And what are my intentions in the phone call? Now, I think it's a really good opportunity for you to write down your truths about the relationship. If you choose to say yes, I would write down for you, what are the things that I loved about the relationship? And I wouldn't necessarily say that you're going to focus on that, but I would just write them down just so you can have this fair balance. And then write down and you just make it easy. Like, it can be the top 3 things, top 5 things, whatever reasons why I know we're broken up, or I feel like we're broken up. And the things that are an absolute no from that relationship with that person. What are the things that were like no, I don't want this in my life anymore. No, I don't want this. And especially this is a good time, because 10 months out, and you're also in another relationship. So you're not probably longing for this person. And it feels like the curiosity is more about just understanding more from their perspective. And forgive me, but men often, they're a lot slower. Not always, but oftentimes they are, because they're on a little bit different plan sometimes when it comes to this spiritual awakening journey. And I don't even know if this person is on their awakening journey, but I know one thing, that heartbreak brings interpersonal growth, or it dumps you into a blocked heart and you get meaner and you have a harder time in relationships moving forward. So the fact that at 10 months, he's experiencing enough emotion, maybe he's experienced enough of the heartbreak, maybe he's had to sit in it long enough now that he's actually willing to do a little work on himself. Who knows? He might also just be wanting to see if he can get you back. It might just be that he's got a blocked heart, broken heart, and he's just like, I'm just going to see if I can get her back because she was the best thing that ever happened to me. So be careful. And I mean that only with like conscious cautiousness, right? It's not like you have to be like, oh, no, he's not going to manipulate you back. None of that, because you're going to set your intention of what you want to come out of this. And I feel like your intention is really simple. It's to hear what he has to say and to tell him my truths. So you've got them ready. You're prepared. You don't have to read them. You can say, you know what? I'm really nervous. Like, if you get on the phone, because I know women, well, anyone, but women especially, and I'm speaking probably mostly for myself, but I see this in other women, that sometimes when something's really emotional, it's harder to say things because you don't want to cry. But if you want to cry when you're in this conversation, do it, because that's the truth. The truth is that when I tell you this, when you did this to me, I'm growing from it, right? Because it's not about victim, it's about growth. I'm growing from it. But when you did this to me, it really hurt me deeply. And yes, I'm working on my own things around that, my own, whatever it is, if it's your abandonment wound or, your loneliness or whatever it is. So always acknowledge that you're working on you, but be sure to tell them and let them feel your heartbreak. And then just be really clear that you're going to end the call on a certain note. You're going to end the call at a certain time. Like, you're not going to let this go on and on and on, right? And I think the best way to end a call like this, if it doesn't naturally close, if that person's kind of grabbing for you, is to just say, thank you. Thank you for everything that we've shared. And thank you for all the lessons that I'm able to learn from this relationship. And thank you for reaching out and sharing your thoughts. I really appreciate that you took the time. And then you end it, and then it's done, and you can move on. And then you don't have to go on with this curiosity about like, what was he going to say? And you might find that there's something really, really healing. Absolutely. I think you'll absolutely find something really, really healing about speaking your truth. And especially at a time when you can and at a time when you have someone else in your life. So, it's not like you're going to just go home and sit by yourself and, and wallow in this. And then I think you can also have that open conversation with your new partner. Here's my intentions with saying yes. It's to speak my truth and to hear what they have to say and to have conscious closure, or just say closure if your person's not that spiritual language. And I just wanted to share this with you before I said yes, because I really want to build this trust in our relationship that that I'm saying yes to an ex that contacted me, and that you're okay with it. So you're not going to this person before you've set your intentions and say, my ex called me and I wonder if you think that I should call them. No, you get clear on what you want. And then when you can tell your new partner what it is that your intentions are, I think you're going to find that they're really supportive. And if they're not, feel into that as well, because maybe your new partner isn't open enough. So feel like, where are you at with your new partner? Were you able to have that conversation with them openly? Because if they close up and they can't talk to you about it, then that's also an interesting red flag. So I think this is such an amazing opportunity for you. I'm super excited actually to see what comes of it. And I know you're going to tell your truth, and that's all we can do, is tell our truth and really be bold out there so that we can heal our own hearts and keep moving forward, is just having an open heart. All right, please come back to the show though and let us know what happens with that. All right, let's go on to the next question. Let's see. Just got to check here. I got lots of things going on. Lots of platforms. Okay, so can an introvert and an extrovert have a successful relationship? They say opposites attract, right? So there is something to that. And so an introvert and an extrovert, I think, absolutely can be in a relationship together and possibly have one of the best relationships out there, because no one's fighting for the floor, fighting for the stage. You're able to have a really wonderful balance in how you navigate life. I think the most important part here, though, is communication. Because if an introvert can't communicate and you can, and you're the only one communicating, and you're not able to get the introvert to actually come out of their shell to share with you what they think, you might find out that down the road, you're like, I thought we were building this. And the introvert's like, yeah, no, I was building that. And so if you don't have a way to acknowledge the softness of an introvert, and I don't mean that in any other way I don't mean it in a way that's demeaning. I mean it in actually a stronger way, like the meek will inherit the earth kind of way. If we don't acknowledge their real internal, probably heart-centered way of being, then they're going to feel just run over. And if they can't just see, the beauty in the extrovert's ability to just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and they find that annoying, then that's going to be a real rub. So there's some really important aspects of how you communicate with each other, and that maybe you come up with some ideas together. I know I'm an extrovert, so I'll just use myself. I know that I love to share my thoughts. And I know sometimes I get really passionate about sharing my ideas about things. Honey, when you experience this with me and you feel like you want to talk, but you don't know how to jump in, can we just do something fun? Maybe you just grab my hand and that I'll know oh, wait, okay, I need to just step back and I need to just calm down and hear you, or say, hey, share with me what you're thinking. So that it's not a real jolting thing, but it's a loving thing that you go, oh. And then as an extrovert, perhaps you realize, oh, this person's not saying anything, and that's really frustrating me, and I wish they would just say something. And instead of going down that road, that maybe you lean in and, I don't know, maybe you lean in and you just give them a nice kiss on the cheek and you just say, oh, I'm just so glad you're here. And just acknowledge them for listening, for being present. so that they can feel seen and that they can feel seen in the way that they show up. But oftentimes what we do is we get into this headspace of like seeing what we don't like about someone, when oftentimes that's like their biggest strength for us, is to really know that they're there for us. So yeah, the differences are so beautiful when we can anchor ourselves in the observation of it and not the judgment of it, not judging someone for not being how we want them to be. And when we get there, we're in a really beautiful place and space. And it's a practice. It's a practice that we have, and we can really make headway with a lot of relationships in our life. So absolutely, I think an extrovert and an introvert can be in a very wonderful relationship, but both people have to be willing to do the work and step out of that comfort zone, because the comfort zone is where we like to be, right? It's comfortable, but it's not always the place that brings us growth. And it's not always the place that brings us like the adventure and the discovery of new ideas. So yeah, let's look at opposites attract in a really positive, fun way and learning more about each other. All right, let's go on to the next question. I met a new guy on a dating app, and he sent me a 2-minute video of him in some sleazy bar having fake sex with his clothes on with other people, hooting and howling. Then he has the nerve to say, "Was it too much?" I didn't even reply. How could I attract someone so wrong for me? Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Oh, I get the frustration. And yeah, I mean, there is always something to the people that we attract. But on this one, I wouldn't go too deep, like with it being a personal attribute about yourself. What I'm getting is that the universe is trying to show you, remind you, that there are some crazy people out there. And a lot of those crazy people come through on these dating apps because they can be someone that they're not, or they can be exactly who they are. And what's coming really strongly is that this was a warning for you to realize what's happening for some of these people in the background and be grateful that this person didn't hide it from you. So what's coming is that there are sociopaths out there that wouldn't have showed you that video right away. They would have shared everything, all, peaches and cream, to entice you and to bring you in. And then that would have been what and who they are in the background. So be really grateful right now that that person came through and showed you exactly who they are right away, and that there are other people out there that aren't going to do that. And just heighten your discernment about the types of people that are out there online, and tighten your own manifestation about what the people look like. I get the feeling that you actually have a pretty clear idea of your guy, and you have that written out. But I do think this was a warning more than anything. But just revisit and make sure that you've got that upper class person, if that's what you want. I shouldn't even said that, because I don't really like those words, upper class. Like, what the heck does that even mean? I mean it more from like a spiritual, like expanded consciousness place, someone who is in a similar vibration as you. I wouldn't take this too personal. I really think it's a warning. So just make sure you've got it all listed out in your mind and vibrationally how you want to feel. There's one other thing that's coming forward on this. And it's like, use the negative side of this, like the sleazy bar part of it, to anchor in, like, ooh, no, I want to be in, and I don't know if this is what you want to be in, but let's just say you want to be in a very sophisticated, nice restaurant. So it could also be that the universe is nudging you to put a few more details and nuances in that evoke more emotion, because this evoked a lot of emotion. It evoked the emotion over here, like, this is not the guy, and why the heck am I, even inviting this in? So I'm just suggesting, like, use it to evoke the other side of the emotion, which is the guy that you really want and where you really want to be with him, at a nice restaurant, sipping a cup of tea, whatever it is that you want to do. So yeah, swing the pendulum the other way to evoke the other emotion that you really do want, because you certainly know what you don't want. All right. And yeah, let me know if you end up finding some new interesting people that are more in your, yeah, more in your vibration and resonance. All right, let's go on to the next question. I want a life partner, but I think I'm too depressed to have the tenacity to find one. I don't know where to start, and everything feels overwhelming. What to do? I appreciate that you are acknowledging that you might be too depressed, because a lot of times people say, yeah, they just feel like the victim. And I think that you admitting that you don't feel like you have that tenacity deep inside also means that there's just something really juicy in there for you to fill your own heart first. And maybe it's just not the right time for that person or partner. And maybe you just switch the lens to just like, I just want to find a friend, a new friend that's the opposite sex. And I just want to have some fun around that, so that it doesn't feel so heavy about like the dating and like finding that person. I also think that you would really benefit from taking the state of the heart assessment on bethbell.me, because you'll find out, like, maybe you just really have a broken heart or a blocked heart, and you just need to do some work on that good old heart in there, so that you can start attracting, someone who is in the more healing heart space. So it might just be an indicator that there's just some deep inner work that needs to be done. And yes, you may be depressed as a result of that, or you may not be depressed and you're just suppressed, that your emotions are just suppressed because your heart's blocked, because your heart's broken. And there can be some other ways to start opening that heart. And as simple as this might sound, if you have an animal, and if you don't have an animal, find a friend that does, and spend some extra time with your dog, your cat, out in nature, out at a play park, out walking. And if you don't have one, it's even more fun sometimes, because you can ask a friend if you can take their dog for a walk, and allow the energy of the animal to help shift your heart. Like, number one, hopefully you'll find a fun dog or a cat that just really, opens your heart and makes you feel a little bit like a kid again, and you just want to play with them. But then also, if you're out walking, so I'm assuming it's a dog, so I don't think cats typically will walk, but if you're out walking with the dog, like, who do you start attracting? Like, people that say, oh, your dog is so cute, or, oh, what kind of dog do you have? And allow that dog to open your conversation circle, right? And then say, oh, in my mind, when I meet a good energy person and they're asking me about, my dog or this dog, I'm going to have this one or two lines just kind of in the back of my mind, so that it doesn't feel weird to just say, oh yeah, thanks for asking. Do you have an animal? If they don't have one, or if they have one, like, oh, I see, you have a fur baby. Just find something that opens conversation. I don't want to say something else, because I don't know. It depends upon you. It depends upon like what feels natural for you to say to open up a conversation. And I think why I'm suggesting having a few in your back pocket is that it just makes it easy to start. And then what you'll find is that when people start having the conversations, just naturally something will pop out, and you'll be like, oh, here's just what I'm going to ask this person. Because you'll kind of have moved through that like more denser feeling of like, I don't know how to get into conversation, and I feel a little bit depressed or suppressed. And so animals just have such a beautiful way. Or let's just use a totally different analogy, but still with animals and Mother Nature. If you're out for a walk and you see a butterfly, just really feel into the butterfly and say to someone walking along, you're like, hey, did you see this butterfly? Just use it as an opportunity to open a container of communication, and just open a container of putting yourself out there and practicing being you in a fun, loving way. I think we all get in our heads too much. And when we're out and about and we're walking, we're like thinking about what we got to do next, thinking about what we didn't do, thinking about how we feel, navigating all of the storylines. And when we just drop in and we observe whatever, it could be a beautiful flower that's opened that we smell. It could be some dew on a leaf that's about to drop off, right? There's so many things that we can observe and we can see and we can feel and we can sense. We just get so in our heads thinking that we don't stop to smell the roses or stop to feel. And so the more we can feel and the more we can connect with others just for fun. And if you feel like you want to ask somebody on a date, great. But I'm just saying it from opening your heart, opening the suppression of experiencing emotions, because that's really what we're scared about doing oftentimes, or maybe not even scared, but that's just what we're experiencing when we're feeling like a sense of depression, is we're feeling like we just don't have it in us to, so I'm just saying, take one step and find a way to make it easy to open the container of conversation and to feel connected to other people, because connection is really, as a human, what we're all looking for, is to have connection with other people and to feel seen and to be heard and to exchange ideas. So I think you'll find some really interesting things shift there. And then, after that step, then maybe you're interested in doing something else that's going to get you more interested in taking action towards more a date or something that is more romantically oriented in finding a person. But definitely take the State of the Heart assessment at bethbell.me and find out where you're at. And you'll get some interesting tips and tools in follow-up to the assessment that I think will be really helpful for you. Okay, let's go on to the next question. And anyone watching live, please put in, and if you're watching on replay, you can always put questions in the comments and I'll put them in queue for the following week. So don't hesitate to add your question or comment here. Okay, do you think a narcissist can change and not be one? Wow, that's a good one. Narcissists, absolutely, I believe that they can change, but it requires a huge amount of desire to want to change. And for all of us, change can feel really difficult. And for a narcissist, unfortunately, they're a narcissist because they don't have an awareness outside of themselves, and they're so inner focused that they have a real problem seeing how they are manipulating themselves or others because of a deep, deep, deep wound. So that's really the trick here, is that the narcissist has to come to the understanding, I should say, that there is something to even change, because the narcissist loves who they are because they've had to be that person based on their programs from upbringing, from the heartbreak. This is how they've had to navigate. They've built this toolbox to be a narcissist at an early age, and it may not even be as a result of them specifically. It may be that they've taken on these traits from their family system. It could be old ancestral stuff. It can be things that happened to them in childhood. There's so many things that comes in to play, and so they have to really want to see things differently. And a lot of times they don't, and that's why they kind of get stuck in this loop, because they see it from their perspective in a way that works for them without the lens of compassion and empathy for others. And so sometimes they do go for their entire life and they're just a narcissist. And other times they get an opportunity to have a real big life situation happen that can help them make that shift. And in other cases, they just finally come to a place where they go, wow, I want a different way. So yes, I do think that a narcissist can change. And I don't think that empaths should be the ones to help them. I think that there is a real complex happening right now with empaths and narcissists because of the dynamic. And so I would suggest that we let everyone live their soul's plan. And yes, we're here to help our brothers and sisters, but not at the expense of having them take down someone who is an empath, because of that entanglement, it can get really sticky really fast. So if you're an empath and you're with a narcissist and you're hoping that they're going to change, and that's why you're asking the question, I would run far and fast from a very conscious place to let that person do their own journey. And if they come to a place where they're able to see things differently, or they want to see things differently, there may be an open window for you to be part of that process. But otherwise, you're really putting yourself in a really interesting situation, because empaths by nature are just so open-hearted and so giving. And sometimes we don't have those boundaries to make sure that we're helping ourselves first. So that whole analogy of put on the oxygen mask on yourself first before helping others is always the thing to do. So what is it about you that you're attracting someone who's a narcissist? It may be that you as an empath need to just take your power back in a different way, in a stronger way, that you're not here to save the world. You're here to heal yourself. And when we heal ourselves, we shine our light brightly and we show others the way. We don't try to change their life for them. It's impossible. We know this. It's impossible, but we keep trying. And I'm just suggesting that that's not your mission here. Your mission is to heal yourself and to be in your wholeness. And that is what will help humanity heal. All right. I think we've got, do we have one more question here coming up, or are we down to the wire? I think that we'll end with that today. Unless anyone here on live has any other questions, I'll give you one more shot here. I'd love to answer your question live. Please type it in the comments. And in the meantime, I will share that the State of the Heart assessment really is an amazing way to get just a little gauge on where you're at with your heart and the state of the heart, and to help you on your journey of just opening your heart and finding that deep inner love, your soul love for your soul's plan and your purpose and your mission in life, to help you be in your heart, not in your head. And in addition to that, if you haven't already learned about angels, herpes, and psychedelics, this is my best-selling book. It's also blessed by Amma, the hugging saint, and it's filled with lots of tips, tools, and techniques, and it's transformational storytelling. There's a transmission, and I think you'll really enjoy it. It's on Amazon and all the platforms, and you can also find it on bethbell.me. In the book, I talk about a lot of different modalities for awakening and spirituality and personal growth. And in the Awakening and Healing Handbook, I go even deeper into each one of those modalities, describing what they are. I give suggestions of people that you may be able to book a session with. Lots of tips, tools, and techniques that go deeper in the Awakening and Healing Handbook on bethbell.me. In addition to that, if you have any desire to partake in any types of spiritual medicines or ceremonies, I also have the Psychedelic Resource Guide, which is an amazing guide that helps you just ask some, really great questions and gives you some really great answers. And whether you're a newbie or you're someone who's already dabbled in this, I think you're going to find some really great tips in the resource guide. And probably lastly, no, maybe not lastly, but the Herpes Handbook is also an amazing tool. You may or may not know someone with herpes, but you may also encounter someone coming up, whether it's your child, a friend, someone who needs guidance, someone needs a little hand holding with something that feels so traumatic when it happens, and something that can be overcome and really bring peace, joy, and love again in your life. So please, if you know someone that could benefit from releasing the suffering from everything that mind viruses have to do, especially herpes, the Herpes Handbook is a great one. And if you want to go deeper into conversations, you like where this is going, the Awaken Inner Wisdom membership is always a great place to come to. And we have deeper conversations. There's a lesson each week, and then there's a live discussion. So you'll have an opportunity to chime in and to ask more questions and to be more deeply immersed in all things spiritual and all things awakening consciousness. So there is an application process. It is a very special group. Please go to bethbell.me and you'll find the application there. And I look forward to hearing from you. All right. I can't wait to see you again next week, Sundays, 11:11. We're here live. I look forward to seeing you. And until then, wishing you bliss and love on the journey. Namaste.